Accepting that I have no friends changed my life. It gave me peace and something else I never expected. Let me show you why it's so powerful. I'm Latoya. I live in New York. My life is humble. I live in a small but cozy apartment. It feels like my little sanctuary, and I'm very happy here. I have a fantastic career as a registered nurse. I really love my job. It took me years to admit it to myself, even though it's been my reality. I felt like the world was screaming this one message. If you don't have friends, you're failing at life. If you don't have a close circle, you're seen as lonely or miserable or broken. That narrative actually stuck with me for a long time. I tried to ignore reality by convincing myself that, maybe I just needed to try harder with people. So I kept reaching out, even though the effort wasn't mutual. And I even dismissed insensitive comments as jokes. For example, in 2021, I traveled to Hawaii with 2 other people. And while we were driving past a famous hiking spot called Coca Crater, they started talking about climbing it, and they were actually making plans to go the next day. Obviously, I joined in, and I mentioned something about how nice the view must be from the top. You won't believe what one of them said to me. She said, "Latoya, you can't climb it. You gained a lot of weight and you're gonna be slow." I was hurt. But because she was laughing, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't want to come across as overly sensitive, so I laughed it off as a joke as well. I was so desperate to belong that I let it slide. What I didn't realize is that I was blocking my own happiness. By trying to fill the void of not having friends with people who weren't true friends, I was doing more harm than good. I was delaying the benefits that accompany acceptance. When I finally accepted that I have no friends, my world didn't get smaller, it expanded. Today, I'm living a life that feels so full, and I'm gonna show you exactly what changed. One day, I came across a video by Mel Robbins titled, "How to Let Go of What No Longer Serves You." In it, she discussed the importance of releasing relationships and habits that hinder personal growth.
Letting go is a natural and important part of your life cycle.
I realized that I'd been clinging to the idea of friendships out of fear of solitude.
Solitude's a little complicated, and what we bring into it, how we're thinking, how we're dealing with our own emotions, all of those things are going to shape the solitude experience.
Watching videos and reading about solitude planted seeds of change in my mind and started to reframe my thinking. What if embracing that I have no friends could lead to a more fulfilling life? This shift in perspective was the beginning of my journey towards self-acceptance and happiness, and it gave me the courage to face the day that would forever change my life. I remember that day vividly. The day I finally came to terms with the fact that I have no friends was the day I filmed this video. Today is Labor Day holiday. I spent the day alone at home. That morning felt different, like the universe was giving me space to think. I woke up and for some reason it just hit me. If I don't text anyone for the holidays, no one will reach out. I checked my phone, scrolling through old messages that had gone unanswered. The realization was sinking in. This wasn't a temporary situation or an oversight. This was my life. My ringer was on, but there were no calls or text notifications. It was in that moment I said it out loud for the first time. I have no friends. As those words hung in the air, I have no friends, something else happened. I felt a wave of relief. Not the kind of relief that comes from giving up, but the kind that comes from finally being honest with yourself. I realized that acceptance wasn't about giving in or accepting defeat. It was about stepping into my truth and seeing it for exactly what it was. That truth didn't need fixing. It just needed me to stop running away from it. I had finally let the thought settle. I have no friends, and I was okay with it. But just as I was starting to get comfortable, my phone rang. It was an old friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in a really long time. They were back in New York visiting for a week, and they wanted to meet up. I knew this wasn't a good idea. This was someone who had drifted away. Okay, fair. But they were already in New York for a few days and they only contacted me to meet up the same day. But even knowing that, I still felt this urge to go. That old conditioning kicked in, the instinct to prioritize someone else's feelings over my own. So I said yes. As I walked into the restaurant, it felt like I was stepping into an old life. The conversation started out light, and I sort of forgot why we even lost touch in the first place. However, the stories that I shared about the good things that were going on in my life were met with, I want to say, lackluster reactions at best. The energy here was completely off. She laughed, and she looked at me, and she said, "Remember that time I made you cry?" I realized that this wasn't an opportunity to connect or to catch up, or I wasn't someone they missed. I was just someone who happened to still be here. The funny thing is, I thought I had faced the hardest part of my journey, but I was wrong. The biggest challenge was something I didn't see coming. It was in the people who are supposed to be there. Family. So I went to a mini reunion and there were a few family members who I hadn't seen in quite some time, and I was genuinely excited to catch up. I had worked so hard to build something and I was proud. If you don't know my story, I went from being evicted in 2009 and having my car repossessed to now having an 800 credit score. And I'm also currently one of the top transplant nurses in the country, right? And I just started this channel too as a way to branch off into entrepreneurship. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Just testing out backgrounds, see if I want it to be like this. So yeah, I was excited. The second the words left my mouth, I realized it was a huge mistake. Their responses were so dismissive, it was unbelievable. Picture you going to a family member and you're telling them about a business you just started because it's your dream. It's something that you've been wanting to do for a really long time and you're super excited about it, right? But they immediately start trashing your ideas. They don't ask you any questions about it. They don't try to understand it. They just start talking down about it. It felt like I was right back in old friendships, surrounded by people who never truly saw me or never even cared to. Just when I was beginning to think that I was completely alone, something totally unexpected happened. The video that I made on September 4th went viral. It reached so many more people than I ever thought it would, but it wasn't the views or the numbers that mattered. It was what I found in the comments. You. I honestly didn't realize how many people felt the same way that I did. And finally, I wasn't some rare exception struggling in solitude. There were thousands, maybe millions of people out there who were just like me, who understood exactly what I was going through. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I felt seen. You allowed me to see that there's an entire world of people out there who just don't accept a life without friends. They thrive in it. Reading your stories also gave me something I never expected. It gave me strength and it gave me clarity. I realized that even though I had accepted my reality, I still had a lot of work to do. If you've seen this video, you know that I basically raised myself. So I needed to unpack the years of conditioning that taught me that I was failing at life just because I wasn't surrounded by people. The thing is, the pain from past friendships and the wounds from my family history of dysfunction were all still there. And just because I wasn't chasing friendships anymore didn't mean that I didn't need healing. I decided to make a choice to begin therapy. I needed to break the don't talk, don't trust, don't feel rule of family dysfunction. To make it clear, therapy didn't change the fact that I have no friends, right? But what it did shift was my programming. The more I worked through everything, the more I began to realize that I wasn't missing anything. This is monumental because this understanding transcends acceptance. I was actively becoming a stronger and a healthier person. Case in point, that same friend reached out to me again out of the blue for another spontaneous last-minute brunch. But this time, my reaction was different. I just knew with full certainty that this person was not trying to be my friend. I had spent so many years trying to prove my worth to people who barely noticed my absence, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to do that anymore. Nowadays, I can go to a restaurant and I can eat by myself without wondering whether or not people are judging me. Friday nights, for example, used to feel sort of like a test. But now, Friday nights are my R&R nights, okay? I have a nice bath and I completely unwind for the week. And it's not lonely, it's freeing. I used to think that friendships defined happiness, that the more people you had around you, the more full your life was. But now, I don't even hesitate when I say I have no friends. I don't measure my life by the people in it anymore, but by how much I've grown as a person. I started this journey thinking that I was missing something. These days, I wake up every day with a sense of peace that I've never had before. My time is my own. My energy goes exactly where I want it to. And the best part, I get to share everything I'm learning with you. I make these videos because I know there are people out there who are just like me. I make these videos to take you on my journey, to show you that you can live a fulfilling life without friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. Remember when I mentioned being in Hawaii and one of the friends I was with made this comment? "Latoya, you can't climb it. You gained a lot of weight and you're gonna be slow." Well, she was right that I had gained a lot of weight, and she was right that I was going to be a little bit slow, but she underestimated my resilience. I went a few days later by myself and climbed it.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. You want something, go get it. Period.
Look, we tastemakers, groundbreakers, we crown shakers. Moved us out the margin, we're writing, that's how we found paper. Hustle nature, since we was riding back on